Is it time that we get over being surprised that Chris Buescher wins again?
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, look, 3 wins in the last 5 races, and quite honestly, he and Brad Keselowski have been keeping themselves within around the top 10, top 12 of the point standings just about all season long. But my gosh, when they've put themselves in a position to win, they've certainly delivered. And I think it's kind of awesome. I mean, look, he goes in as the number 4 seed. I don't know that anyone had that on their card during the preseason that they would go in that high. I think it's pretty cool.
Alexis, sort of following up on what Brad said there, is there any universe where you saw Chris Buescher at this point of the season, 1 being the number 4 seed, 3 having 3 wins?
Absolutely not. I mean, I would be lying if I said the opposite of that. Look, we all knew that Brad Keselowski going over to Roush Fenway, buying into that organization was going to make it better. At least I did, certainly. I did not expect it to happen this quickly, and I did not expect it to happen in this volume. I mean, for Chris Buescher to be you said number 3 seed, 4 seed going into the playoffs, I mean, that is huge for that organization, an organization that maybe 3 years ago was nowhere to be found when we got to playoff time. So, yeah, I definitely didn't see it coming, but I certainly think that the competitors around him need to pay attention to him as we head further and further into the playoffs.
By the way, there's approximately 30,000 people that live in his hometown.
I'm wondering if that population grows at all with every win that he gets. Maybe I don't know.
Bigger. They have a
For what it's worth, his hometown is a suburb of Dallas. It's far north, but it's not that remote.
Brad, do they have a pool hall with a siren, or are they going to do something new?
No, there's a lot of new there. Heck, Deion Sanders, had lived there at one point. I'm not sure if he still does, but yeah, maybe they can do something new. Maybe we can, start up the big, riding lawnmower or something.
Love me some Deion, by the way. Those two need to get together. By the way, Chris Buescher says, hey, you know what? With this win, we're ready for the playoffs.
It makes you feel pretty confident as we head into the playoffs, knowing that, certainly the last, 5 weeks have been massive highlights, but there's been a lot of days and a lot of finishes that I've been very proud of throughout the season, and combining those with what we've done, here as of late, that's what gives me the most confidence heading into the playoffs, is that we're going to be flexible and we're going to be good at lots of different places.
Now, we should remember Chris Buescher won a race in the final third of last year. It was post-playoff cutoff time as he won at Bristol, but he says, hey, there's lots of chance to win again.
We're in a heck of a spot and couldn't ask to be any better right now as we head into Darlington is one of my favorite racetracks. Bristol's my favorite. So, heading back to where we got that win last year is obviously that puts a lot of confidence in us. Yeah, and then Kansas is a place we've been pretty fast at in the past too. Just got to work on a little more execution. Ran so competitive at the Roval. I mean, there's really good opportunities for us still to come.
Chris Buescher loves them all. Alexis Erickson, are we done talking about Chris Buescher W's?
I don't think so. Certainly not. I mean, if you just listen to those cuts right there, obviously he has a ton of confidence right now, and he is heading into at least the first round, some racetracks that really are going to benefit him, Bristol being, a huge one. And so I absolutely do not think that we, have gotten to the end of Chris Buescher winning in 2023.
Brad Keselowski, or as some announcers are fond of saying, Keselowski.
Stop.
Wound up in second, pushing his teammate to win at Daytona.
Second is, first loser, but, we could have ended up in a ball of flames in 3 and 4 too, and that would have looked pretty dumb. It would have been really difficult to pull a move off without, probably wrecking both of us.
So, Brad Gilly, where's Brad Keselowski's head right now?
I think his head's in a really good spot. Again, in the world of what have you done for me lately, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher, RFK Racing have been running well. And I think really what they have they had, say, the speed of Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. and William Byron? I don't think that they have, but what they really do have is this is where we started last year. This is where we are this year. And I would say for a team that has moved up more so than any other in the NASCAR Cup Series garage, they've got that intangible right now. They've got that momentum going, and I feel like they have a lot of people over there in that race shop in Concord all pulling the rope in the same direction. That's going to get you through a few rounds of the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get the check mark on the end of season superlatives for most improved. There is no question about that. And Brad, he is on the cusp. I know he's probably sitting there thinking, man, Chris has gotten all 3 wins for us this season. When am I going to make it to victory lane? But I just have a feeling that it's going to happen. It's going to happen for Brad, and it's going to happen, I think, before the end of the season.
And taking a look at the playoff picture here as we head into Darlington in the Southern 500, Martin Truex Jr., he clinched that regular season title.
Beginning of the year, you set out to, be the best. And, for the regular season championship is a huge deal. The 15 points that come along with it are really very, very important for the playoffs. So just really proud of my team, thankful, to turn it around from last year, missing the playoffs is a big deal for all of us.
All right, Brad, we've got William Byron and Martin Truex Jr. tied with playoff points. Are they both pretty much layups to advance to the next round?
I think to advance to the next round, yes. And I honestly think that what they've gathered so far, and probably what they will gather in the first round, is going to be good enough for at least a round of 8 appearance. I'm never one to say, hey, look, this is going to get you into the championship 4. Look at Kevin Harvick. He had 60 some odd playoff points a handful of years ago and ended up missing that championship 4 cut. But yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree that for both Truex and William Byron, not just the amount of playoff points they've collected, but let's be honest, they've had about the most speed here recently.
Alexis, it shouldn't be lost on us that this time last year we were talking about the heartbreak of Martin Truex Jr. not making the playoffs, getting squeaked out by Ryan Blaney at Daytona. And this is nothing short of miraculous, the turnaround that team's had.
Such a huge turnaround for this season. I mean, when you think about where he was last year, as you mentioned, I mean, we were talking about him for weeks and weeks and weeks. Are they going to turn around? Are they going to turn around? They missed the playoffs. There's so much talk in the air about, is he going to come back? Then he decides, yes, I'm going to come back. And it was like, okay, is he ever going to get back to, the top? Or have we seen, the end of Truex being successful, kind of like Jimmy Johnson was in his, later years? But clearly he has changed all that around, won the regular season championship, has a buku amount of playoff points. And I think that is going to take him far into this playoffs. He's going to have to work for it too, obviously, because those playoff points aren't a guarantee, but he is sitting really pretty right now. And when you think about where he was last year, huge turnaround.
And playoff points are like having credit with the bank.
Yeah.
It's overdraft protection.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it.
You pull out $10 and you only had $5 in your savings account, and this kicks in. Brad, do you think that with the 29 that he and William Byron have, how good should they feel and how far can they go just on that?
I think they should feel good. And remember, that's 29 above the cut line. They actually have 36 extra playoff points, but where you are above the cut line is really what is the most important thing right now. And that's going to bode very well for them. Is that like a full mulligan in the first round? No, but it's pretty darn close to being a full mulligan. And honestly, historically, what is the first round of the playoffs? It's the don't screw up round. 25% of the field is going to get knocked off after we end the night race at Bristol Motor Speedway. You just have to be in the top 75% of the field. And I think as long as you execute, as long as you don't have an ill-timed penalty, and as long as you don't do something yourself, get into a wreck, whatever it might be, you should be fine to advance. But there are people who, they're going to have mistakes along the way, and that's what's going to take them out of this round.